Welcome back to Becoming a Published Author is Fun. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, just check out episode 8 and you'll understand. Today we are on episode 25 and we're going to be looking at control. We've been looking at character building and we're still in that subject a little bit here. We're going to be still touching on characters here. But now we're looking at the control. You as the author having control. Now, when I first started out writing, what I did is I got involved in, first of all, I wanted to go with a traditional publisher. And I went and I spent the months necessary to find an agent that I thought could help me. And I contacted that agent, who in turn rejected my inquiry letter because of the nature of the genre that I was in didn't fit what she was talking about and what she covered. She mentioned she was in historical fiction. Well, I'm in historical fiction, but it was based on facts as they are in the Bible, not necessarily in secular history. And she didn't say why, but I'm guessing that's why, is because she didn't want to get into that, which is fine. I have no problem with that. The problem was that after spending months of research and finally finding one that fit what I wanted, I had to start all over again. And I decided I'm not going to do that, so I went with a self-publisher. Now that's a name that's interesting in itself. When I hear the word self-publishing, I think of me having control. That's not the way it works. They have control. The only control I really had was when I paid out the money to buy the publishing of my book. By paying that money to them, I assured myself that book was going to be published. There was no doubt about it. It was going to get published. So that was when I had maximum control. From that point on, they had control. They had control of the formatting and everything about the process. They had ultimate control. And they may get feedback from me, but they had control. Editing. They offered editing. I was not required to do it, so I did my own editing. I had control over that. But that was a choice I had to make because I wanted to protect certain elements that I wanted in my story that I was afraid they might not like for one reason or another and then take out. So I just opted to do my own editing, which at that time meant that I took on a lot of information, a lot of responsibility that I didn't realize I was taking on. If I had known it, I hope I would have still made that same choice. But I would have made it with a more intelligent awareness, if you will, of what was all involved. Doing your own editing can be very, very trying. As if you can't afford a editor, you have to do it yourself, and you come with a limitation because you're the author. You already know how the story's supposed to flow outward, how it's to develop and everything. And so when you're looking at things and editing things, your mind might play a little trick on you and it says, oh, I know what's supposed to be there. It's not there. That's the wrong word. So I'll just do it in the mind here. And so you read right through it and don't catch errors. You have to really focus down on your book. You can do it. It's not impossible to do it, but it is definitely hard to do it. And you got to be persistent in doing it. And so that is a choice you make. Now, as an indie author, you can still hire that out to somebody. And if you can afford to do that, then I would recommend you do it. But control played a big part in why I became what's called an indie author. Indie stands for independent. So I became an independent author. Independent of any publisher or any house of publishing or anything out there. I took it on myself and took all the responsibilities. And I can hire it out if I want, or do it myself if I want. And that may be why you are an indie author, or why you are considering becoming an indie author. And that's good, because control, it's your work, it's your artwork. You should have control over it. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today. So let's get started. Episode 25, Control. And we're talking about it from the author's point of view here. First thing I mention here is to keep control. That control that you have, you may think of it as absolute, and it should be, but the truth of the matter is, it can get out of control real fast. Different things can get into your life that can throw your control out. Like, for instance, a few moments ago, I was doing this same video, and all of a sudden we had a electrical fluctuation, and so it shut everything else down, flickered the lights, and then my printer had to come back on, and so I shut down that video and had to start all over and wait, so when things were settled down. So that was not in my control, and I lost control for a few moments, and it messed up the video, so I had to start all over. And that's just a very small example of what I'm trying to say, but you need to have control, and you need to keep it. You need to keep it in your writing. When you're writing, there are so many different aspects to writing. Then everybody has a different pattern. I have a pattern that I like, that works for me. So part of the control is to make sure that pattern's in place, and that I'm doing the things that I like to do as far as how I do things, how I write, how I do my research, things of this nature. All of that comes under my control. So writing is in general requires some control on your part. You are in control of the theme. There is a theme. There is a plot that you have for your story. It's not just you just start writing your story. You need a plot. You need a beginning and an ending. And somewhere in there you need a middle. And so eventually that plot is going to grow and grow and grow. And you want to be in control of that plot. Don't let it get away from you. You want to be able to be in control of your overall story, the plot itself, and then the story as it unfolds. Now we get down to the part that I really want to talk about today, and that is your characters. Usurp. That's a key word. Your characters, believe it or not, will try to take that authority away from you. Now, I know they're just imaginary characters. But if you're doing what I have, like I told you to, in fact, the previous video I talked about getting into your character, being part of your character. When you do that, one of the dangers is that character now has the ability to take over the story, because you and the character have become one, so to speak. And so a character can become so strong that as things go on, it develops characteristics and it starts to assert itself. And if you're not careful, it's going to go in a direction that you didn't really want it to go into. Now, that might be a good thing. Don't get me wrong. So allowing your character that kind of freedom can take you into some really exciting adventures. But you have some decisions to make as you go on those decisions, on those adventures. Is this something that really benefits the story? Does that really fit the story, the plot that I have? Do I need to change the plot? Or is the plot still good and I need to rein in my character? You have a decision to make. That's called control. And so either way, you're exercising control. You're either choosing to go in this new direction, or you're choosing to say, whoops, wait a minute, this is not what I want have in mind. Now you have to go back and do some retweaking on your character. Maybe go back and change some things in your story that would lead up to this. It's sort of like artificial intelligence. If you go in and ask, say, Bing has artificial intelligence, or GPQ, I think, or something like that, GPD, I forget what it is. But anyhow, GPT, I think it is. It's artificial intelligence, and you tell it what you want it to do, and it'll go out and do it for you. Well, artificial intelligence will create artificial facts. And so they might put some facts in there and you think that they're actually facts when they're really not. There might be some information that they've stolen from other authors. That's called copyright infringement. That's called a lot of different things. Lying is a good way of saying it. And you can get sued for all that stuff. So you got to be careful with artificial intelligence. But the thing is this, in your own control, if you're allowing the character to develop its own resource, how it's going to go, that is similar to artificial intelligence in that you are allowing the character, rather than AI, you're allowing the character to determine the way to go. And it may be a good idea. It may be something that will strengthen your story. It may be something that will add a bit of a suspense or adventure or a thrill. Or it might be just something that just makes things come together. On the other hand, it could be something that is going to really destroy your plot, and make everything just look and feel unreal to you, and you might say, "Oh well, maybe I better hold this back, rein this in a little bit, and go back and tweak it." So these are, like I said earlier, this is all part of exercising control. Now you may never have that problem. If you don't get yourself into the character, like I suggest you do, then you may never have that problem. But then again, your story may never come alive either, because I believe that's part of bringing your story alive, is getting into your character. I think I gave you an example of a series called The Old Woman. Now the author I know personally, and she did a lot of investigating, and she knows people older than herself, has talked to them, learned them, and she drew from here and she drew from there, and she drew a lot of facts, observable facts, things that she had seen and heard, and then she got their stories and things of this, and she brought it all together into this person she called the Old Woman. The old woman's name was Rose, I believe, but she brought it all together into that one character. And she had some other characters there, supporting cast. She did this similar idea with them. But the thing is this, she kept in control. Now, I don't know, I've never discussed this with her, so I don't know if she even thought of it in terms of control. But that's what she did. She exercised control over it. She allowed the character to do some things. And how much of that she actually planned and how much she allowed, I don't know. But I know that if things flowed well, the whole story unfolded well. There were some things that were unexpected as a reader, but they were not jarring to me. They actually drew me into the story. And so that was something where she exercised her control to get that character to do something, experience something, think something, or have something happen to her that just made that story come alive to me. And that is a key element in any kind of writing that you do, even nonfiction. You have to have control. How much information are you going to give out? How are you going to give it out? Um, Now, like for instance, I do a series called "What's True About." It's doctrinal. It's based on Bible doctrine. Well, I use college material, and I take that college material and I bring it down to my level, which I call the common man. And then I say, well, okay, now I'm the common man. If I understand it, you're going to understand it. And so that's what I do. I bring it down to my level and then out to you. Well, that's exercising control. And that is something that adds to the book's value, the story's value, rather than detracts it. Now, you can get over controlling, just like you can in life. You can over control. So that's something you got to watch. Just as you can allow a character. In fact, let me put that down. Wait a minute. Not only will your character do it, but you can need to be controlled. You can start thinking, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. You have a plot there. That should be your governing instrument, so to speak. And you stick with that unless you think it needs to be changed. But do some careful thinking about it. Is this change that you want to make really going to help your story? And that, again, comes into your exercising control. So hopefully you're getting an understanding of why I think control is so important, because it impacts every aspect of your writing. It impacts and it's going to impact your reader. If it's too much control, you're going to push them away. If it's not enough control, you're not going to be able to draw them in, and they're just going to maybe drift away. And so you have a line there you have to walk, and you want to pull them in and into your story, and you want that character, your primary character, as well as a supporting cast, to support the overall plot, the overall story, and work together as a team to pull that reader in. And then when you do that, you get a successful book. And so I mentioned to you, I think it was in the very last video, that I was once complimented on how I bring the Bible alive. Well, that's the concept that I employ to do that. If it's working, it brings it alive. Not necessarily to everybody, but it's going to bring it alive to some of them. And those are the ones you're trying to reach. Because if they like your story writing, they will come back and they'll say, you know what? I like that last story he wrote. I think I'll buy this and check it out. I like his writing or her writing. Again, that author that I talked about, she has written, I teased her that she ought to write one about the old man. And I don't know if she's ever going to do that or not, but I got her mind thinking about it. But she's got other books out there, and I'm looking at them and thinking about, hey, you know what? I think I might buy that one. I have another author friend who has written a book that I enjoyed, and so I'm watching him, and he's got some other books out there, and I'm looking at them thinking, well, maybe I'll get that one too. And so I'm already planning ahead on purchases I might make based on what I read. I may not know anything about that new story. It might only be an idea right now. And he's talking about a book he's coming up with, or she's talking about a book she's coming up with. But because I was so satisfied back here with this book, now I want to get a new book. And having control of the whole process is part of your job as an indie author, so that you can bring forth the very best work, and you can appeal to that potential buyer and reader and continuing reader of your books. That's it for today. I will see you in the next episode.